In Chainsaw Man, Denji from a young age had nothing in his life, and there was next to nothing he could do about it. From birth, Denji had a life-threatening heart disease, had a drunken abusive father, had to murder his father in self-defense, was enslaved by Yakuza, would literally eat scabs to survive, and his only friend growing up was a literal chainsaw devil. Denji's life was so bad that for him just being able to eat udon was better than his wildest dreams, and when Denji was free from Yakuza control, even when he was immediately put to work hunting extremely dangerous devils, because one of his main compensations was food and a place to sleep, Denji said that this situation was quote a dream come true, and that if he could keep up this life, he didn't care if he died. However, even though Denji was so used to having so little, his new job as a devil hunter actually provided him with something he likely didn't expect, and that was a family. Made up of a chaotic blood fiend and a revenge-seeking devil hunter, this makeshift family was by no means normal, but it actually changed Denji for the better and gave him something to care about besides food and boobs. But how does someone like Denji, who for most of his life had next to nothing, even get a makeshift family? Well, it all started with this boisterous blood fiend, Power. On the outside, Power was someone that immediately stood out. With plush-shaped red pupils and big red horns, Power was very noticeable, and just like her appearance, her personality was the same. Power was boisterous, had little to no empathy, and was narcissistic to the point where her first words ever to Denji was quote, "prostrate yourself." Power loved herself and didn't do much to hide that fact, basically living life trying to do what she wanted, and oftentimes this involved a lot of murder. When Denji and her were first sent out to patrol the streets, Power quickly found a devil to kill, but with reckless abandon and little regard for others, she quickly exterminated the devil, causing a massive mess. And after this incident, when she was scolded by her superior Makima, she was not above lying and throwing Denji under the bus to try to get out of trouble. For Power, her self-preservation and wants were above everyone else. However, there was one thing that made her rethink her attitude, and that was her beloved cat Meowy. Before Power had been captured and been put to work in public safety by Makima, she had been a wild fiend living in the countryside. Because of her nature as a fiend, Power had gone around killing and eating anything she came across. However, with Meowy, it was a little bit different. Surprisingly, when Power initially found Meowy, she nurtured and fed him, but not out of love or care, but rather to fatten him up to eat him later. However, as time went on, because Power had taken care of Meowy, he became affectionate towards her, and Power couldn't bring herself to end Meowy's life. For the first time ever, Power started to care for something else besides herself, and it felt strange to her. However, because of this attachment, another devil was able to use Meowy against her. One day, when Power was chilling on a roof, a big bat devil took Meowy hostage. The bat devil was a massive manipulative bat that had somehow lost an arm, and for him to regrow the arm, he needed to drink human blood. So the bat made a deal with Power that if she brought him a human to eat, he would give Meowy back, and Power agreed to the deal. Later on, when Power was hanging out with Denji, the subject Meowy came up. Power explained to Denji how important Meowy was to her and how she would do anything to get Meowy back. However, Denji thought that was stupid. Because of his upbringing, Denji was not very empathetic and was mostly self-interested, and at this point he cared mostly about two things. One was that he was able to keep this new life where he could eat, drink, and sleep, and the other was boobs. Ever since Denji had been found by Makima, he had wanted to touch a girl for the first time in his life, so when Power told Denji about Meowy, while Denji said doing so much for a cat was stupid, he offhandedly said he would do anything if it meant he could touch some boobs. When Power heard this, she took advantage and offered Denji to let him touch her if he would help her save Meowy. And Denji in a frenzy agreed and went with Power to the Bat Devil's lair. When they both got there, Power knocked out Denji and gave him to the Bat Devil as a meal. The Bat Devil used some of Denji's blood to regenerate his arm, but because Denji had been fused with the Chainsaw Man Devil, Denji's blood tasted disgusting to the bat. Because of this, the Bat Devil decided to take his word back and eat Meowy and Power and fly away. However, Denji was not able to let anyone get in the way of his goal, and as the Bat Devil was flying away, Denji transformed into his Chainsaw Man form and ripped up the Bat Devil. Denji ended up saving Power and Meowy, and when Power asked why Denji would go to such lengths to save her when she had betrayed him, he pointed at her chest. In the end, Denji ended up getting his wish, well, kind of, but after the battle, Denji was able to go back to his home where he was able to enjoy a relaxing time. Ever since Denji had been found by Makima, he had been staying at the home of a public safety officer whose name was Aki. At Aki's home, Denji was able to experience many new things such as bed, baths, and bread with literally every topping possible. And while initially Denji's relationship with Aki was rocky, they had both come to somewhat of a mutual peace. However, after the incident with the Bat Devil, they both got a surprise as Power made a sudden appearance. Power had been ordered by Makima to stay at Aki's home, and she bust through Aki's doorway in her Power way, and to no surprise, Power was a nightmare roommate. Power would not flush the toilet, she refused to clean herself or take a bath, and she would not eat her veggies. With Power's movement, Aki was now a caretaker / parent to two crazy individuals, and while Aki initially was incredulous to the housing situation, he soon got used to it. Unlike Power and Denji, Aki was usually very put together and outwardly had a very stoic attitude, and this was because of his past. When Aki was a child, the gun devil had massacred his entire family, and ever since that moment he sought revenge. Aki joined public safety in order to one day find and kill the gun devil, and while Aki was not the strongest, he was definitely not weak. Aki was very smart, driven, and had contracts with various strong devils, and at least outwardly seemed as if he would stop at nothing to get his revenge. However, Aki's true nature was much more soft-hearted. On the outside, Aki appeared to have a blunt and emotionless attitude, but because of his nature, he couldn't help but become attached to his friends, and when many of them were killed in battle, it would affect Aki greatly. His friendships would matter to him so much that he would even start to waver on his desire for revenge, and surprisingly, it ended up being Power and Denji that made him really second guess his motivation for revenge. Initially, when Aki met Denji, they did not get along as Aki thought Denji was an impulsive loser that had joined public safety just to get with Makima, and Denji thought Aki was some weird dude. Their first big interaction involved Aki beating Denji in a back alley and Denji responding by kicking Aki multiple times in the crotch. And when initially Aki met Power, he was annoyed by her vulgar and obnoxious attitude and only took her into his home because Makima requested it. Initially, to Aki, Denji and Power were no more than tools to assist in devil hunting, and Aki even said that, quote, they had no human rights. However, as time went on and all three went through different experiences together, some life-threatening, some not, they became somewhat of a family. However, they weren't meant to stay happy. Every once in a while, Aki would go to Hokkaido to visit his family's grave. Normally he would go by himself, but Power and Denji insisted on coming along. This made this Hokkaido trip very chaotic as Denji and Power were their typical selves, constantly bickering and messing around. However, for Aki, while normally he would be depressed visiting his family's grave, because Denji and Power were around, he didn't have space to think about the depressing thoughts, and he appreciated that. For Aki, this moment really solidified the thought that he no longer wanted to chase after revenge, but rather keep his new family safe. After the Hokkaido trip, Aki even went to the extent where he requested his superiors to withdraw all three of them from going after the gun devil, but this didn't work out as their superior Makima refused to allow Power and Denji to withdraw. Alongside this bad news, Aki received even more horrible news as one of the devils that he was contracted with, the future devil, showed Aki a future where Denji would kill both Aki and Power. This led to Aki desperately seeking a way to avoid this future, and the only person he knew that was strong enough to maybe turn the tides was Makima. However, when he asked Makima for help, Aki was met with the surprise of a lifetime. When Aki asked Makima for help in keeping Denji and Power safe, she said that she would help, but that was a lie as she had no intention of protecting Denji and Power and instead used her powers to force Aki into a contract with her. After Makima had taken control of Aki, the gun devil appeared and attempted to assassinate her. In the ensuing battle with the gun devil, Makima used various other people including Aki to weaken the gun devil, which made the gun devil fuse with Aki, turning him into a fiend. Aki then made his way back to his house where Denji and Power were staying, and there a big fight ensued. Initially, Denji just tried to get Aki to stop fighting, but Aki, suffering from hallucinations, did not understand the destruction he was causing. Because of this, Denji eventually came to the conclusion that he had to kill Aki, and he did, which ended up traumatizing Denji, and in the aftermath of Aki's death, Denji and Power were left to themselves. Aki had left Denji half of his savings, and with that, Denji and Power got a new apartment, ate good food, and played video games. However, Aki's death left this mark on Denji. One day, when Denji left to buy some ice cream and food, he remembered that he had killed Aki, and Denji spat out his ice cream and became lightheaded. As Denji was reeling over Aki's death, Makima actually appeared before him and invited Denji to an apartment, when while it seemed like an innocent invite, Denji was in for a wild ride. Initially, when Denji arrived at Makima's apartment, everything seemed to be fine as he played with her dogs, ate good food, and was able to spend time with Makima. However, unfortunately, the situation quickly changed into something bad. As Denji was enjoying his time with Makima and trying to forget about the death of Aki, Makima told Denji that she had also invited Power over. As Power arrived and knocked on the door, Makima ordered Denji to open the door, and Denji, even though he sensed that something was wrong, he complied with Makima's orders. When Denji opened the door, there was a terrified Power with a birthday cake standing in front of him, and as they both greeted each other, Makima walked up and shot Power with a blast, splitting her in half and effectively ending Power's life. As Denji stood in disbelief, Makima proceeded to close the door and explain what was going on. Makima from the beginning had set Denji up. When Makima had found Denji, she had given him a new life with good food and people he could call family, just so that she could take it all away from him. The reason why she had done all this was that so once Denji experienced the insane pain of having such good things and having it ripped away, it would allow Makima to separate the chainsaw devil Pochita from Denji's body. As Makima was explaining this to Denji, she further worsened the situation by gaslighting Denji into believing that he had been the main reason his loved ones had died, and because of that, Denji didn't deserve to be happy. and this statement made Denji truly give up on life. As Denji became a shell of himself, it seemed like everything was over, but somehow Denji was able to see power one more time. As Makima was attempting to take Pochita out of Denji's body, Pochita was having none of it and took over Denji's body, fighting Makima and her goons. However, Makima was too strong and Pochita couldn't defeat her, so he turned to Power for help. Earlier on, Denji had drunk some of Power's blood, and this allowed Pochita to reincarnate Power in Denji's body. Once Power was reincarnated, she started to fight back and attempted to protect Denji. However, unfortunately for Power, as strong as she was, Makima was still stronger, and Makima ordered Power to give up Denji's body. And initially, Power was going to comply. When faced with Makima's overwhelming strength, Power reverted back to her old self and thought of self-preservation above all else. However, as Power stood there, all the memories she had with Denji flooded back, and she changed her mind, deciding that she would protect Denji. As Power ran away with Denji's body, she thought she was crazy as she knew she could never beat Makima, and she asked herself why she would do this, but Power realized she couldn't let Denji die because Denji was Power's first ever friend. Somehow, through all of this, Power was able to find a dumpster to hide from Makima, and there she was able to revive Denji. Even at this point, Denji was still dejected and saw no point in living. However, Power called him dumb for thinking like that and motivated Denji to regain his will to live. Power told Denji that once she died, she'd be reborn in hell, and while she would have no memory of him, she told Denji that he should find the new her, become friends, and somehow make the new her into Power so that they could hang out again. Power then made a contract with Denji, giving him her blood so that Denji would find her again someday, and from that point, the Power as he knew her disappeared. After all of this, Denji eventually went on to beat Makima, and while he lost his family, Denji was able to make a new one that hopefully had a brighter future.
Oi!